going on, Jerome's? With the re-addition of edge rusher Stephen Weatherly this week as he came back from the Carolina Panthers. They had let him go after he left and signed a 2-year free agent deal with them last offseason. The Minnesota Vikings defensive line is starting to look better than the absolute nut low, rock bottom trash heap that it was in 2020. And we want to go through the edge rushers as well as defensive interiors and as well as the outlook of what the Vikings might do in free agency and the draft. And spoiler, it might not be much. So edge rushers, of course, numero uno is Danielle Hunter, 26 years young, coming back from the herniated disc in his neck. Missed all of 2020, but 2019, Danielle Hunter was a bad man. 88 pressures, second in the league, 14 and a half sacks. If you extrapolate those numbers to 2020, he would have led the league in pressures and been second in sacks to only TJ. Ugh. And remember when Vikings fans were complaining about Danielle Hunter? It's like, oh, he only gets 14 and a half sacks a year. Like, what is that? Even though he outsacked the entire team in 2020. No big deal. So getting him back obviously is going to be huge, both for the pass rush as well as him setting the edge on the close side of the field and defending the run. So that's going to make things a lot easier for everyone involved. Afadi is a restricted free agent. It's probably going to be back. Maybe original round tender, maybe second round tender. Either way, he'll cost a couple $1 million. But 26 years old, 696 snaps last year, 35 tackles, 42 pressures, only 3.5 sacks. But 3.5 sacks did lead the team besides Yannick the freaking Ngakoue, who led with 5, even though he played 6 games here. But Afadi, he had his opportunity last year, didn't quite take advantage. I think Afadi, his ceiling is being the third option, is being that rotational guy where he had his most success, 7 sacks in 2019, when he was able to rotate in with Everson and Danielle Hunter, as well as kick inside on passing down. Same thing with Stephen Weatherly. And that's fine. That absolutely has a role. He had his chance to be a starter last year, but I don't know. Maybe Afadi could be a serviceable starter opposite of Danielle Hunter, but absent Danielle, it just didn't work out as teams were keying on him. He was getting double teamed, and he was getting the offense's attention since he was the only significant pass rusher out there. Jalen Holmes, the former 4th-round pick out of Ohio State, was second on the team edge rushers last year in terms of snaps, 617. Didn't have a sack, only had 19 pressures. It's sort of, I like Jalen Holmes better when they experimented with him and Hercules at 3-tech in 2019, but it just hasn't panned out. Just hasn't. DJ Wanham is up next, the rookie 4th-round pick coming out of the University of South Carolina. 3 sacks last year, 22 pressures in relatively limited work. I do like his future. I think that he just needs a little bit of refinement, and he is a toolsy guy that Andre Patterson can mold and develop. He'll be that next mid to late round edge rusher that becomes something under the tutelage of Andre Patterson. I'm pretty bullish on him in year 2. And if the Vikings don't go edge early in the draft, or they don't sign a significant free agent, which is pretty unlikely, DJ Wanham and Danielle Hunter as your de facto starters, and then you work in Odenigbo, Holmes, and Weatherly, that's not bad. That is pretty damn good. Stephen Weatherly coming back in, probably going to take number 91 back from Yannick Ngakoue. 26 years young, last year in Carolina. Never really found his footing. Rotational guy, only started 9 games, was injured, but he just never got anything going. And I know that a lot of Vikings fans are like, oh, well, why bring back Weatherly at $2.5 million and $3 million with incentives? He didn't do anything in Carolina last year. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, me so sorry. He didn't do anything on a new team with no OTAs and no preseason. Oh, Muscusi. But he returns to Andre Patterson, to Mike Zimmer, to a team and a scheme where he put up 58 pressures and 6 total sacks between 2018 and 2019 as a rotational guy, which is going to be his role next year. I'm sorry. No, it's a perfect getting the band back together between him and the Vikings. Then Hercules and Brailford. So I actually like Herc better as a defensive tackle on passing downs. I think that's probably going to be his role going forward. But 19 pressures on only 293 snaps. Now, yes, he is usually only playing on passing downs, but that is a pretty damn good pressure rate. Plus 2.5 sacks last year, was third on the team for the edge rushers. Jerome Brailford is a guy that I like, former 7th-round pick out of Oklahoma State, was brought over from Washington, and he is that speed rusher guy, a little bit undersized, but he brings some stank off the edge. can certainly be a situational dude. And of course, 7th-round pick Kenny Willekes, Kenny Tryhard from Michigan State. He is going to be that guy to come in, compete in training camp. I think it's probably a long shot given the composition of what's on the roster right now for him to make the 53, but certainly could find a spot on the practice squad and then impress in 2021. Defensive interiors. So you're looking at Michael Pierce, the man in the middle, nose tackle number 97. And you forget, Michael Pierce is a bad man. 28 years old. Last offseason signed a 3-year, $27 million free agent deal. Opted out because of COVID, but is going to be that rock man. Is going to be that two-down tyrant in the middle. 481 snaps in 2019 with the Ravens. 16 pressures, 35 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a half a sack. He's going to make life so much easier for everyone involved. He's not going to stuff the stat sheet per se, but just playing 2 gaps, taking up 3 bodies up front is just going to be phenomenal for this defense. And something that the Vikings were sorely lacking last year. Also on defensive tackle, Armand for Watts, the 2019 6th-round pick out of Arkansas. He got run last year, but he just didn't really pan out. 392 snaps, 31 tackles, 12 pressures, half a sack. Wasn't very good against the run. It's really unfortunate to see. Also, James Lynch, 92. Come on, man. Can we play James Lynch more? Can we just do that one time? But he did have that sack against Seattle, just drove Damian Lewis, not of Billions and Banner Brothers fame, but the guard from LSU, all 330 pounds of him, straight into Russell Wilson's ass. But no, he can't get on the field. I don't know why he doesn't practice hard. No, he does practice hard. What the hell? With how feckless Shamar Stephen, Jaleel Johnson, Armand for Watts were last year, how come James Lynch didn't get the time of day? How come he only had 59 snaps? That's disgusting. Now, also Shamar Stephen and Jaleel Johnson are probably going to be cut and let go, respectively. Stephen can free up $3.75 million in cap space by letting him go. He is 30. He is an Andre Patterson favorite, but I don't see it. I just don't see it. And if the Vikings do freshen up at 3 tech, he doesn't have a role there. And Michael Pierce is back at nose tackle, so he doesn't have a role there. He didn't play the role very well last year either. Plus, Jaleel Johnson, the 4th-round pick out of Iowa in 2017. Just never really got it together. So looking at the current core, I don't see the Vikings making a big splash in free agency. Maybe they bring in a 2nd, 3rd-tier free agent guy like Shelby Harris from the Broncos, has been bandied about quite a bit. But I don't see them going all in on Leonard Williams or even bringing in a high 2nd-tier guy like Ndamukong Suh. I don't really see it at this point. I think the Vikings would be better suited spending that money on the offensive line, going after a Brandon Scherf. Sure, why not? Or a Gabe Jackson, or an Austin Blythe, or an Ethan Posich, or a John Feliciano, etc. And in the draft, like the Vikings could and should spend some mid-round capital at 3 tech. You look at Ali McNeil and Marvin Wilson and Jalen Twyman and all the other guys are there going to be in the, if the Vikings going to get back into the 2nd round or the 3rd and the 4th, where the Vikings have 6 picks or projected to have 6 picks between the 3rd and 4th rounds. And the only guy you take in the 1st round at 14, probably Christian Barmore. That's really about it. But maybe they maneuver. Maybe they get a guy like Davion Nixon. Maybe they do, or Darius Stills, and they get some more meat on the defensive interior. But the edge, I know all the mock drafts have the Vikings going Gregory Rousseau or Kwity Paye. Now, I do love Kwity Paye, but it's kind of crowded on the edge. And if Andre Patterson says that he's good to go and he has his guys, Fadi and Weatherly and DJ Wanham still back in the building and Hercules Mataafa, maybe the Vikings don't go edge early. Maybe they don't break that tendency of Spielman not drafting an edge rusher in the 1st or 2nd round since forever, right? So don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if the Vikings are going to stand pat on the edge. And like we pointed out a couple weeks ago, it's not the end of the world. And that was even before Steve Weatherly came back in, where Weatherly, no, he's not. Is he going to be a starter? No. But Weatherly and Odenigbo, rotational guys on the edge, especially on inside, because you can imagine a NASCAR package. Say it's 3rd and 11, and you got left to right, you got Danielle, Afadi, Weatherly, and DJ Wanham. Let's go. All right. But still, they need some work at that 3 tech spot. So beef up in the middle, edge. I mean, if you get BPA, sure, but don't sweat it. Now, they'll probably just take a developmental guy, day 3. They'll take Taron Jackson from Coastal Carolina or something. But, I like it. But your thoughts, take a look at the Vikings defensive line. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work, put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.